if the dealer doesn't like a $25 tip because you want $1,000, F them. It's like, you give me a break.
You have an issue with this, sir.
I could not disagree more
yes.
with this conclusion. And this is like how pros do it. Sometimes when you miss the number that you want, it's like a quarterback. You look through your rotations and you play a derivative. I feel that at least 5 NFL teams, when they are down 10 and they score to cut the lead by 4, will go for 2.
Oh, right? I don't think you're right about that.
And man.
Whether it's at the sportsbook or anywhere else in the casino, he's always helping us find an edge. It's time for Fezzik Fridays.
Ladies and gentlemen, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton SuperContest, Steve Fezzik. How are you, sir?
I was thinking about when the Titanic was sinking, probably the captain, when it was going down, he's like, our margin for error is now very slim for survival.
This comes up because you listen to the show. I appreciate that you listen, not only appear on. And Paul Carr, a Dolphins fan, earlier said that their margin of error is very thin, and you were relating that to, it's been thin.
Yeah, it was thin before back in August. Now the boat, all the lifeboats are rowing away, and the boat is already 10 feet under the water.
That's actually very funny. It's a captain of the Titanic. Our margin of error appears to be very thin. Great moments in catastrophe history. Okay, let's start with Dr. Bob was just on. He was talking about the game tonight between Oklahoma State and Tulsa. He's got the under on the Oklahoma State Cowboys at 31.5 team total. You have a thought about this game?
Yeah, so I'm on the points. I bet, it was plus 13. Now it's plus 10, and I even see a 9.5. So I don't know if I can give it. I don't want to get fined.
You'll lose your sharp card.
You know what? I'll give out first quarter plus 3.5. That's still out there. So give me first quarter plus 3.5. We'll take, and this is like how pros do it. Sometimes when you miss the number that you want, or it's no longer available, it's like a quarterback. You look through your rotations and you play a derivative. And so first quarter plus 3.5, perfectly good. But one thing no one's talking about with this game, let's say Oklahoma State looks awful and loses outright tonight. Okay. Remember, Oklahoma State got murdered by Oregon. So Oregon got a big power rating boost. Oregon's going to Penn State next week, okay? And if Oklahoma State truly is as bad as most people think they are, we're going to devalue that Oregon win. And right now, Penn State's only laying 3. And the greatest spot of the world because, Oregon's got the border war this week, and now they got to fly to Happy Valley and terrible, trip. And Penn State -3 is going to be really cheap as long as these two teams are comparable, because the spot is so bad for Oregon.
And just to clarify, you have Tulsa plus the points tonight, but now it's down to 9.5, so you're not going to give it out.
I would rather lose than bet Tulsa plus 9.5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's how it works for you. So what did you get? Tulsa plus 11 or plus 13? Plus 13. Since we're giving out picks here, you want to give us an NFL play real quick?
Sure. I'm going to go with the Rams plus 3.5. I can't. This is old school YPP, yards per play. The Rams are plus 2 in yards per play. They're the second best team in the NFL. Green Bay's number 1 at plus 2.4. Amazingly, the world champion Eagles, 2-0, are minus 1.0. All right? So there's the net difference between these two teams is 3 yards per play. So if they had just gone out there and played and didn't have their uniforms on and you were just scouting it and looking at from the line of scrimmage on every play, you would say the Rams are about a 10-point better team year to date.
Wow. You're down with YPP. Steve Fezzik is. Yards per play, which is a Dr. Bob thing, right? Before Bob, no one really talked about yards per play. He deserves credit for that as well.
And now everyone is so high on success rate and EPA and all these other stats. And, it hits a point where people just ignore the yards per play. One thing, about success rate, like everyone's talking like it's the new thing, right?
Yeah.
And it has valid. It's valid, but having a running back go 80 yards for a touchdown and say, well, that was a successful play. And he goes 6 yards. Well, that was a successful play. Well, one is a little like Barry Sanders, for instance, had a lot of unsuccessful plays, but he was a very good running back because his successes were very good.
His successes were quite good, yes. About last night's football game, it occurs to me, and I actually alluded to this earlier on the show, Buffalo beating Miami 31-21. Miami gets the money because they were at different points in the week, 12.5-point dog, 11.5-point dog, so they only lose by 10 here. This is a pretty reliable week 3 thing, right?
Yeah, so if you just back the 0-2 straight-up teams catching points, you're 48-27 going back 10 years. And well, why is it so successful? Now, some would say, well, the point spreads are inflated against these losing teams slightly. I agree with that, but I think it's more the mentality of everyone knows if you start 0-3 and you're not the Stan Humphrey-led San Diego Chargers, you're not making the playoffs.
Right.
So it's desperation mode. You need this game like blood. And by contrast, like you look at Cleveland, Green Bay, right? This is circle the wagons game for Green Bay, all in. For Cleveland. For Green Bay, it's like, we'll go play the loser Browns. It's like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Well, for Cleveland, it's a sprint. It's an all-in game. And so you get that extra effort. I think we saw that last night with Miami. I think the Miami effort was higher than the Buffalo effort.
Yeah, I mean, effort, sure, but that's less quantifiable, right? That's more qualitative than it is. Because I really do think, I know you glossed over it, but it does make sense that the numbers have adjusted too far in 2 weeks, right? For a 2-0 versus an 0-2.
And the extreme example is last year, the New Orleans Saints,
yes,
the greatest show on turf,
yes,
opened -3 against the eventual world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, did they have the ball to a chance to win that game also? Or it
was close.
Yeah, it was close.
The Eagles, I think, won the stats, but it could have gone either way. I was sweating it.
About that, so another big winner wins yesterday. Buffalo didn't win against the spread, but they win outright. So another big spread. And Kelly and I, we went through the numbers earlier this week, and the reason that less than 10% of Survivor entries have been knocked out through now 2 weeks plus some change is because, again, the only two favorites of -3 or better, and one's a -3 favorite, one's a -3.5. The Chiefs in Sao Paulo is a -3 favorite, and the Steelers last week against the Seahawks is a -3.5 point favorite. Anyone else 3 points or better they've all won.
So everyone obviously has advanced because no one would play a 3-point favorite in a Survivor.
So you agree with my assessment that everybody who's out, they were too cute.
They just had their little adorable Kansas City Chiefs, in Sao Paulo. But the sobering aspect of this is it no longer is a 20-week, I'm going to call it a 20-week contest. It's an 18-week contest because everyone got a bye in weeks 1 and 2. And so instead of an expected 18 Survivor winners, we're having expected 35 Survivor winners. And now instead of winning an expectation of 1 million, now it's down to 500,000.
Yeah. Well, explain to people. So obviously Steve doesn't know exactly how many people are going to be alive at the end of Survivor, but explain to people the math that you use to come to that number.
Yeah. So basically, if you hit just over 70%, you're going to chop half the field every 2 weeks. All right. Such that you have about, if you're playing optimally, so you've got about 1,000 to 1 chance to get through 20 weeks with that math. And since there's 18,000 people, we expect 18 winners.
Yeah.
Or we expected 18 winners. Now we expect 35.
And for those who are out there who are like, what do you mean? Only 9% are gone. What are you talking about? Every 2 weeks. Well, it's never a straight graph down like that.
It's very similar to Squid Games where like every now and then, like red light, green light, like when someone came out and told everyone, hey, hey, this is how to play, to win. So everyone gets over the finish line week 1, but there'll be a new game people are unfamiliar with. And then half the people will get eliminated 1 week.
So last night, most of us were watching Buffalo and Miami, and then when it went to halftime, we all flipped over to the WNBA game. By the way, let me just say this also, brief parenthetical aside. The WNBA almost had a situation last night where they almost lost both the Dream and the Aces out of the playoffs. I just want to say the NBA figured out that they stopped this after the 1983 season, the 82-83 season. No more best of threes because you risk the chance of losing your best teams. And the WNBA almost found out the hard way last night. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bold prediction. The WNBA is going to change their format.
Yes.
And the better team's going to get all 3 games at home.
Yeah.
Going forward to avoid this.
Dream did not win. Fever, the Caitlin Clark-less Fever, advanced to the semifinals. The Aces barely got through against the Seattle Storm. But getting back to what I was saying, so Buffalo, Miami was on, then it was the WNBA. There was a college football game on last night, and it was a great example of why you love college football betting more than pro.
Right. So obviously I'm like sweating out my A-chain prop bet and along with numerous others, Will Hill and all of us. But I got on the other TV, the backup TV, I got the college game, all right? So Rice and Charlotte, and what's this? The Charlotte quarterback gets nice run, picks up the first down. I'm worried about my Rice bet, and then it's almost like, medic, Get him over here. And he's clutching his knee. And I don't need Dr. Chow to tell me he's done so for at least for that game. And so, but the markets don't adjust at all. It's like, and so we have a little group text. And I'm like, in highly technical terms, I think I said the Charlotte quarterback is toast.
Yes.
Bet Rice. Yes.
Yeah. And it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
And you know, the backup was capable, and they got in the red zone. They kicked some field goals, and I only like talking about bets I win and not that I lose. But my point is that if that had happened to Josh Allen, I'm pretty sure the odds makers would have immediately made a substantial adjustment in the live wagering line.
By the way, here are those Survivor numbers, just from visual standpoint that we had up earlier in the screen. Well, now add to it, it's now 20-2 straight up, every favorite of -3 or better. 16-1 straight up, every favorite of -3.5 or better. 13-0, every favorite of -4 or better, straight up thus far this year in the NFL after last night's game. You think we spend too much time on this?
I do, because your entry's worth, if you only have one entry, it's worth $1,100. And I get it. You know what? People spend dozens of hours on their fantasy football team when it's a $50 entry fee. So it's fine. It's a labor of love, etc. But the truth is, if you play somewhat optimally and you don't take like a 2-point underdog, I mean, if you're going to take like a 6 or 7 or 8 point favorite, even if you screw up and you don't make the best path, the expectation of your ticket, instead of being worth $1,100, is probably worth $1,060. If you play optimally, maybe it's worth $1,140. It's not worth spending 10 hours on when you're in week 3 of Survivor.
Yeah. Let's have Steve Fezzik now critiques the host and previous guests on the week of the show. I mentioned to Kelly in the very first segment that last night I made all of my millions picks. You hate that I did that.
Oh, you played the Thursday night game.
No, I didn't.
Ooh.
I did on the total, but that had nothing to do with millions.
Oh. Well,
Here's why, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm leaving the state today, this morning. So I don't want to forget to put in the play.
That's perfectly fine. And you could argue, hey, get to the airport. Now there's a glitch.
Right.
Can't get in on the phone. So the chance of having a bagel and not putting your picks in trumps the information disadvantage. Right. Perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you. So I'm absolved of all crimes.
You know what? I'm going to be in Nevada. Could have put them in for you, but I hear what you're saying.
Kelly says the same thing.
But you don't want to rely on someone else and the like. And no, that's you know what? If you were 8-2, I would say Gilly.
Yeah.
But if you're 5-5, it's fine.
What if you're 3-7?
I don't know if it much matters.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, it's early. Like, people are like, oh, you're 4-6. You got lots of time to make it up. It's not a poker tournament, people. You're not going to suddenly double up with queens.
Well, the real issue is Survivor, right? Like, you got to get those in, and you have multiple entries. So I did have 2 plays on Survivor last night. Mm-hmm. I've put in 2 more, but I still have 2 empties that I got to fill. So I got to do that before I leave, too.
Yes.
Okay, Elihu Foistel, who, by the way, is just so generous. He's on Twitter answering all of our listener questions about his segment from a few days ago. 2 days ago, I believe it was. Elihu Foistel, author, just so helpful throughout the years in sports betting. I say there shouldn't be a sports betting or sports gambling Hall of Fame without him. He came on here and talked about buying points. He gave me the stamp of approval on the points that I bought. You have an issue with this, sir.
I could not disagree more with this conclusion. Hey, listen, Elihu is a mathematical god. As a former actuary, you know, I bow down to him. Everything is spot on correct.
Yeah.
All right. But I still feel like you got to watch the games. All right. So he's saying historically, when someone's favored in the last 5 years by approximately 3.5, wins 9.7% of the time. Mm-hmm. And I totally accept that. And further, I accept if given you're about to take your little finger and play -3.5, you should buy to -3 for 20 cents. I agree. And that's more valuable than buying off the 3. I agree with all that. But I think he's missing 2 key points in terms of what has happened just in the past 18 months, all right? The first point is the rise of the betting exchanges, because most of these books I'm buying these points with, I'm laying -110. So I don't want to lay -3, -130, because you know what? I can get -3.5 at +101 or -101. So that's still going to be superior to the -3, -130. And secondly, anyone who's watching these games knows these teams are going crazy in terms of going for 2 versus in prior years. And I get it. Some of that can help the game to land on 3. But, you know, when a team's down 14 and they score and they cut to 8, they used to just kick the extra point to get another touchdown, kick that extra point, go to overtime, someone wins by 3. And now these teams are all going for 2, and that's going to make the incidence of the 3 land lighter going forward. I would bet them. I would say right now, I would bet that over the next 5 years, less than 9.5% of games favored by 3 will win by exactly 3.
Okay. I'll push back on your pushback, which is what you are saying may be true, right? That it may work out. By the way, not every team goes for 2 from 4 to 2 or from
the majority. The majority in the NFL and the minority in college.
Right.
College, they haven't gotten the memo, but in the pros, I'd say 70% now.
We're over 50% for sure at this point. But what I'm saying is, you may be right that will continue to happen at higher rates, but you do understand, right, and the effect of exchanges and all that, but you do understand that what Elihu is talking about are push charts that are historical. This is what has happened, and in the moment, which is now, I'm going to go with what Elihu is talking about as opposed to your projection of what you think will happen moving forward. Now, I know in betting you want to get ahead of stuff, but yours is not an imminent thing. Yours is a slow-moving coup, if you will.
It's a great point because I feel that at least 5 NFL teams going forward, starting today, when they are down 10 and they score to cut the lead by 4, will go for 2.
Oh, right? I don't think you're right about that.
And you know what? Because it's correct to do it, but you know what? No one did it, and Jacksonville famously did it like last year.
Okay, listen.
We'll see.
We're going to fight on the 4 to 2 because I'm with you on the 14 to 8 to 6, which I agree with you. More and more teams are getting that. Mm-hmm. But the 4 to the 2,
it's complicated.
It's not the same calculus, man.
It's very complicated. So someone out there, run a Monte Carlo simulation, 50,000 trials. Get back to us because like literally, poor Todd Wishnev stayed up all night and he concluded one was like 10% better than the other. I'm like, Todd,
what happened was this was after the I believe it was the Bears-Vikings game, I believe. Yeah. And Fezzik and Stevie's like, 4, you got to go 4 to 2, and the Bears, of course, didn't. They cut it to 3, and then they decided not to onside kick, which was even more ridiculous. And you're saying he's a dumb one. I'm like, I disagree with you. I think you're wrong about 4 to 2.
It's not clear cut like the 8.
And what ended up happening is that Steve and Todd, for literally, I'm not even exaggerating this, 2 hours after the game, are pinging back our text exchange. And Todd is first agreeing with you. Then he agrees with me. Then he went back to you the next morning, and he ended up with me. Yeah. Because, and for me, again, the difference is, in the 14 to 8, then go for 2 to 6, the whole discussion assumes you will have the ability to score 2 touchdowns to it. To the 4 to the 2, it changes the calculus because it changes from a touchdown to a field goal, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, because obviously if you're down 4, now instead of needing that, you're in field goal range.
That's right.
And now you probably don't want to kick a field goal down 4.
Well,
yes.
Glad we settled that.
Okay, what's next on the list? We talking baseball?
Yeah, let's talk baseball. Let's have a little baseball break here before we go back to other things. So, I guess we'll talk about the Guardians here in a second. But there are, if we have to, this always happens every year. So we still have 4 teams where their decision on their MLB season win total is going to come down to the last series of the year.
Yes. So we've got the Reds 79.5, the Giants 79.5. Your Magic Giants that didn't show much magic, I'm afraid.
They stopped hitting.
The Yankees 91.5, and the Angels 72.5.
Good memory.
And the reason I have a good memory, this goes back to, remember when I said, bet every single team season wins
$5.
$5, and you will be able to recite them immediately exactly what they were. And the reason being is I'm in contention in this Westgate contest for MLB season wins, and I've got positions, obviously, on every team. So I need the Reds over 79.5. I need your Giants over 79.5. I need the Angels over 72.5, and the Yankees under 91.5.
The Giants is just so brutal. Giants now 3 back after they lose to the Dodgers 2-1 yesterday. The Giants played a game yesterday where they had 1 hit and you felt like it sucked that they lost because they had so many opportunities, so many walks issued. Anyway, Giants are 3 back, 4 back really because of the tiebreaker in a NL wildcard race that still involves the Mets having just a bit of a lead over both the Diamondbacks and the Reds. But you're
staring at the potential of the worst bad beat in your career. Your alternative, it's going to win.
The alternative is going to win.
It's a winner.
Don't even say the
Todd, it's a winner.
Yeah. Oh, see, don't say that out loud.
It's under 87.5.
The alt Cleveland is going to win, but that's not the real one. The real, what you're referring to is the 82.5 under.
Yes, and so the Pythagorean theorem basically, essentially Cleveland's gotten massively outscored, but somehow they're 10 games above 500.
It's insane.
Which they should be 7 games below 500.
Let's talk about a couple things here, non-sports betting related, but obviously falling under the gambling culture that you participate in, on almost a daily basis, if not a daily basis, multiple times a week. It's gambling leaks. Let's start it with that sort of topic sentence. We all have leaks. Give me an example of the top. If you had to name the top 2, what would they be?
Okay, so number 1 would be you're playing at a disadvantage, but just play a game that's at a small disadvantage. So play craps and take your odds. You're 2 times odds, you're like at 0.6%. As long as you're at below 1.5%, you can play baccarat. You can play blackjack and just play basic strategy. All these games are good, all right?
Craps
just
always maximize your odds.
Drink for free, have a good time. Well, it's not for free, but you get the idea. But think about this. So now everyone knows 6 to 5 blackjack's a sucker game. Avoid it like a plague. It's actually pretty good still in terms of the greater scope of
house
your
edges.
Choices.
Yes.
Because the house edge, it adds 1.4% house edge to like a 0.5% house edge. So rounded, it's a house edge of 2%. Well, a double green roulette is 5.26%. Keno is 20%. Horse racing is 18 to 20%. So put that in perspective. The biggest stone cold sucker, no one would ever play it seriously, 6 to 5 blackjack, is taking 1/10 the vig of that horse racing or Keno is taking. You got to be out of your mind to try to win playing those games.
We should make it a regular occurrence to make that daily reminder. Because again, if you count cards, advantage swings incrementally to the player. But even if you don't count cards, blackjack followed by maximizing odds and craps, the lowest house edge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right. Like I said, 2 times odds and craps at 0.6%. If you take 5 times odds, it's like 0.3%.
And those other games are just, good God, what are you doing?
Exactly right. And so, but baccarat, as long as you avoid the tie bet, it's pretty good. I think it's 1.2 or 1.4% player banker. Ella who will correct me. I'm off by a decimal, I'm sure. But the idea is it'll never show up in any one session. It's like it's close enough to a 50-50 proposition. Right. And yet I hear all the time people saying like, oh, I like playing like payout poker or like Caribbean stud and all these other games. They're more like the 4%, 5% edge. That edge will chew you up alive.
Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 would be, I think this drifts into one of my favorite subjects.
Inevitably, as you're playing, you are going to get bad and good runs.
Yes.
And when you get a good run, it's great that you tip your dealer and you appreciate them if they're a good dealer. But I'm a good tipper, Gil. All right?
You are.
But I'm not a good tipper when I play blackjack. All right? I'll be the first to admit. You know why? Because there's this feeling if somebody wins that you should be tipping excessively. So I see this all the time. Someone gets on a good roll. They buy in for $2,000. They're betting black chips, $100, $200 a hand, and they start betting out $25 on every hand for the dealer, all right? And I've seen this so many times that after an hour and a half, then inevitably the cards oftentimes turn against them. Mm-hmm. They cash out, and they've got no chips left. They lost everything. And then in the dealer tray, in the discard tray, there's $1,200 in chips that all of these $25 bets that they've made over and over and over while they're ahead, I would pump the brakes big time in that. I would bet very moderately for the dealer while you're playing. And then, when you're cashing out a winning session, go ahead and tip the dealer $25. And if the dealer doesn't like a $25 tip because you want $1,000, F them. It's like, you give me a break, you know?
It's also, we were just talking about this off air. It's one of the we don't talk about it often. One of the other tricks about betting in a casino is that it's hard enough to win, obviously, with a house edge. But then when you add in that tip, first of all, there's the tip culture. I've often said here with crack how I feel like, the tip culture of Las Vegas is just out of control. And then, people who live here judge people who don't. Those people don't even know that they're supposed to tip on half of this stuff or that you expect one, and they judge those people, and I always rail against that. But what you're referring to is the more nuanced, and I love this, is we do this thing. We also do it like with our significant others. Oh, we won a big bet? Oh, let's go. Yeah, well, it's not the net, though, right? Like
if I tell my wife every big bet, and I'm always going to give her 10% of the win, I'm going to get crush.
It's the exact same thing.
Now, the one exception to the rule is it's so rare you're going to cash in big contests. I think you should just assume there's a 3% rake. Derek doesn't take any rake at Circa. Assume there's a 3% rake, and not if you win 10 million, but if you win, I always
take 1 million.
So if you when I won 200,000 at the Westgate, all right, it was both years, I tipped 10,000. It felt like 5% was a good number, to go ahead and give, because you know what, I'm never going to win the Westgate again. So it's like those life-changing money. Every now and then, you get that big payout. You can go ahead and tip that way. But what kills you these leagues is when your entire life, every time you're winning on a session, you know what? You're going to wind up tipping out tens of thousands of dollars.
And I've told this
and lose.
Well, I'll go back to the contest thing. I've told this story many times before. I've had people who have won, nearly $1 million call me like, "Oh my God, like what?" It gave them more anxiety than winning the contest, than the journey of the contest. Like, what am I supposed to tip these people? These people are think I should be paying them 5%. He's like, "Gil, I'm not giving them $50,000. I got a wife and kids." I'm like, "You should not. No way you should give them $50,000. It's $50,000."
But don't give them 300 either. You're better. You're better giving zero.
Absolutely right. Correct.
Yeah.
But 5 or 10,000, sure. If they're upset with the 5, too bad. It's $5,000.
And I can't tell you, as someone who plays blackjack, where I'm betting black chips and I'll put out a red chip, and a dealer will literally go, "Thanks," and I'll be like, "That's the last tip I'm ever giving them." Like they're like, "This cheapskate's only tipping $5."
What happens when, going back to the blackjack table? What happens when this is great? What happens when a dealer? I just imagine you in this situation. When a dealer is giving you, Steve Fezzik, advice at the blackjack table.
Oh, it just drives me crazy, because inevitably they're not, good players, the dealers. That's why they're dealers. And I use the analogy. Imagine you got Mike Matusow at the poker table, and the dealer's like, "Wow, I really would have check raised there, Mike." So you gave that pot away, and like would Mike ever tip that dealer ever again? It's like, "Oh, you should never split fours," after a split fours correctly, I might add. And so I actually prefer to play with a dealer I hate. All right? And let me tell you why.
Oh, wow.
Then I don't have to tip them, because I have every reason not to tip them. So if I got a dealer that's giving...
And you don't feel bad about it?
Not at all.
What's the maddest you've ever gotten outwardly at a blackjack table for this crime of
I hit
giving
a 7. The dealer had a 10 up, and I would have won, and I lost. And the dealer's like, "Oh, you gave away a winner. You had 18. Oh, really? I did. That's helpful. Thank you.
Did you? What did you say though? Really? What did you say?
I was incredulous, and and then I got up and I wound up winning the session. The dealer says, "Thank you," and I responded, "Thank you for giving such great advice. It truly was, enlightening. Thank you." Thank you. Like when a dealer says thank you because you don't tip them when they're giving you bad service, thank you for making this a bad experience for me.
I'd like you to get more angry, Steve. I'd like you to get more.
Which of you just keeps talking and talking, and he's so angry at the bad beat that he just happened on the end on the WNBA. He was up 8 with 26 seconds left, and he was 2.5, and somehow his team lost. It's ridiculous.
You're going to turn purple too, like Todd. You okay?
Yeah.
Steve Fezzik, everybody.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now, absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.